Hey now everyone, welcome back, brand new Take Aim podcast, and this week I have Kurt Headington on from Xpedition Archery. Kurt is the VP at Xpedition and shares with us what it takes to build some of the best compound bows in today's market. Very Xpedition-like manner, a holistic approach to how they build each bow. I shot some of the bows at ATA this year and was super impressed with every bow I handled and shot. Xpedition makes great bows. I've been a fan for many years now and was super excited to get some of the insight from Kurt on what they do on a day-to-day process building some of the best bows on the market. Enjoy the show. All right, guys, we are live, brand new Take Aim podcast, and always excited to get a new show out, and this week's no exception. Excited to have Kurt Headington on from Xpedition Archery. Kurt, what's happening?
How you doing, B? Glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely, man. Super stoked to talk to you and kind of just chat about Xpedition, the awesome new bows for 2020, and kind of just want to give everybody that doesn't know an idea of what Xpedition is and what they can kind of expect from you guys. And but if you would, Kurt, kind of give us your background and what you do for Xpedition.
Sure. I tell everyone kind of the same thing, Brandon. Titles aren't that important around Xpedition because it truly is. It's like a family or a big team, close-knit group of people. We're just a small-town Iowa bow manufacturer playing in the big times, I guess is how I'd put it. I mean, day-to-day, I'm the vice president running the show around here, but like I said, it's because I got an outstanding team, and everyone here is a dead serious hunter. So, like, you'll hear us constantly talk about it in our marketing activities and stuff, but we say purpose-driven. Like, everything that we do, whether it's designing our bow, performance of the bow, it's all purpose-driven and mostly with hunting in mind. And I don't want to cut, like, the target competitive archers out because, of course, we play in that space too, but we're a dead serious group of bow hunters, and that's how this whole thing started.
Now, give me a little kind of history lesson on that, Kurt, if you would, like where it started, because I know you guys are in Iowa now. I believe you guys were in South Dakota or North Dakota at one point, but give me, maybe I'm wrong, but you can correct me.
No, you are spot on, Brandon. So just a snapshot in time. Xpedition's been around for about 8 or 8.5 years, something like that, and they were actually originally started out in Yankton, South Dakota, and they were actually a division of a large aerospace defense company. That company, of course, had the machining capabilities and know-how to machine virtually all the parts that go on a compound bow. And because they had some guys there that were obviously tore up with it, they started doing that, and they contracted with Kevin Struther as their designer, and voila, they started spitting some bows out. Difference being, it wasn't their core business. Their core business was, like I said, filling defense contracts for the military and whatnot. So when the opportunity presented itself almost 2 years ago now, they were gonna do away with Xpedition. Xpedition was gonna go away because of the growth they were experiencing in their core business. And in steps Mark Heck, our president. Mark acquired the company and then assembled a team, and I say team, I was one of the first. Chris Cobbett, my counterpart in the company, was one of the others. We picked it up, man. We took a couple 53-foot trailers out there, did some training on site with the former team, and then we picked it up and physically moved it back to Northeast Iowa. We bought a beautiful facility here, and about 30 days later, we were up and running. So like I said, we're just short of 2 years since we've, taken the reins and acquired the company, but that in a nutshell is how this whole thing happened and brings us to today.
Wow, that's crazy. I had heard rumors that the company had been sold, and I didn't know all that kind of detail like that, but that is pretty amazing, and I mean, super amazing that you guys transitioned that fast to 30 days and kind of did it in such a flowing manner that people didn't notice.
I appreciate you saying that, and I mean, I got to give our dealers and our customers a lot of credit because they were very patient with us, right? I mean, there was literally a window of time that about 45 days where no part left Xpedition, no bow went out of Xpedition. And timing-wise, I think it was right because Xpedition wasn't per se in the same model as a lot of the other manufacturers where you get in a business cycle, right? It's about an 18 to 24-month cycle from design to production to sales season. And, you know, we basically rolled the doors open in July of 18, and by late November, we did have a release. And like the 2019 models that were super successful, the Mako X and the Mountaineer X, we designed, prototyped, tested, and approved that and launched it in November, and we were shipping bows by early February, about a year ago right now, with some tremendous success. And that was cool. It was incredibly stressful, and things were moving fast, but somehow we pulled it off and you know, kind of gave the brand a boost, right? Like the company is reborn, here we are. And then moving into this season, we released here mid-November, and the 2020 line is on fire. I mean, we're adding dealers faster than ever. It's kind of the buzz. I would argue our booth at ATA was probably hands down the busiest of the archery manufacturing companies. So we're excited, man. Like, everything's on the up and up, and the momentum's there, and we're not going to take our foot off the throttle. There's a lot of cool stuff coming right now, and I'm knee deep in the prototype approval process for the 21s. So wow. It's exciting, man. We're all jacked around here.
Yeah. Well, I know it was quite the buzz at ATA, and I know the booth was busy. I physically saw it myself. But you know, before we talk a little bit about 2020 and the models that just came out, Kurt, give me a little bit of insight into what you guys mean business-wise. Like, your mission statement says Xpedition Archery brings a holistic approach to the industry. So let everybody know kind of what exactly that means, because that mission statement is quite different than everybody else on the market.
Yeah, and I think our market in general has turned into more of a marketing channel than a real-world channel. And all I mean by that is, like, in that statement, we're saying, you know, the hands of our builders ultimately are connected to the hands of our shooters. And whether you're in a tree stand, you know, full draw on a 180, or you're at 11.7 about ready to kill a 360 bull, we take it serious. The last thing we ever want is one of our customers to have something fail on our bow that we can control. So when I say purpose-driven and we're taking a holistic approach, like, it's a grassroots effort to have the most efficient, performance-driven, purpose-driven killing machine you can have in your hands. And like I said, whether you're hunting an animal or shooting foam on a tournament line, we're dead serious about it. This is what we do. We're not just a marketing company. We want to have, and will have, and believe we have, the best bows in the industry. And it's top to bottom. Like, there's no one thing where we're like, hey, we're real strong on here, but we're weak over here. And I'm not, like, trying to throw anybody else under the bus, but, like, let's be honest. There's some bows that are incredibly smooth, but they're like pooches. They're incredibly slow. We want it all. We want fast. We want performance. We want smooth. We want fit and finish that's better than everybody's. And I mean, truthfully, that's why we put the statement out there in our mission statement. It's a holistic approach, top to bottom, front to back, however you want to look at it. Like, our goal is to win in every aspect of archery.
Yeah, absolutely. I do totally agree with you, and I'm going to kind of phase back in and out on some of these questions. But since you just mentioned the fit and finish, can we talk about that real quick? Because, like, on your comp side, you guys have some awesome colors. But even on the hunting side of stuff, it just seems to me that you guys have done, like, an amazing job. I don't know what it is, but your camo pops a little more. Even your solid colors are just, they look like they're tank proof, like you could bulldoze them and it wouldn't scratch. So give me a little bit of the insight of how you guys do business there.
Yeah, yep. So you're spot on there. Like, when we set out to do this, Brandon, like, we didn't know what we didn't know. And that sounds weird, but, like, as we progress and as we're looking at it, having the group of people that I have on the team, we all want the same thing, and that's 100% truthful. So I love that objectively you're like, hey, your solid colored bows look like they could get run over with the tank. That's the goal, right? Like the powder coat that we're putting on these bows and the efficiency in which we're doing it is with that in mind. It's not like, hey, this is cheaper or this is an easier process. We knew what we set out to do, and we kept testing and messing with it until we got it. And now we think we do have something special, right? So as far as fit and finish goes, I mean, that is something we're never going to take our eyes off of. And even as things progress and trends come and go, like solid colored bows are trending right now, right? It's cool. So somebody that wants that, sand tactical color or, the more of a tan, we get it, right? Same thing with our green. Our green's incredibly popular. It's probably our most sought after solid color bow for sure. We care, right? Like every nook and cranny, we want it to look perfect. And I would argue from a decoration perspective, regardless of what color you're getting, I think we're best in class. I think we're as good or better than any of them, even the big guys. So I don't know if that answers your question, Brandon, but
yeah, for sure. I just want an insight what you gave me just on, it was a compliment because it was, like when I was at ATA, to be honest, you guys were one of the best in show in that class. So I had to bring it up and kind of just give you guys some kudos for it, absolutely.
Well, and I appreciate that because, I mean, there was definitely some trials and tribulations on getting that thing dialed in. I mean, the one other thing that I think is unique, not per se to us, but in general is we're working closely with Realtree, and of course they're a marketing monster, and everyone thinks Realtree or Mossy Oak, and they think like twig and limb, and I don't want to say old school, but like when you think of camouflage, that's what you think of, and it does seem like the diehard serious hunters, everything's moving to more of a objective pattern, whether it's digital or just abstract, I guess is maybe the right
for sure.
term.
Yep.
We're super excited that we're one of the only companies that have Realtree Escape featured on our bows this year, and Realtree Escape is Realtree's more objective pattern, and it's been incredibly popular. So I think just the fact that we have something that's different than the majority of our industry kind of sets us apart. I mean, same thing with Realtree Timber. We put that on as an option this year, and that's super popular in the South. And I mean, that color, or that pattern, I should say, that was designed for, woodland waterfowl, not for bow hunting.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is it looks awesome on a bow, right? And if you're hunting in dark forest, there's your color, right? So we're willing to do that. Like, we'll step out and do something like that, even if it isn't per se what the masses are doing. We think it resonates, and guys do like different. Guys like custom, or you know what I'm saying? And it's
absolutely,
it's working, and the numbers show it's working. It's awesome.
No, that's funny you said that. For one, Realtree's done a great job of getting rid of that stigma of sticks and leaves, like you were just mentioning, which I think was, probably for years, when you have something that makes money, it's hard to change from that, right? For any business. And they've done a great job of kind of moving and advancing with camo the way camo has, as you've seen it, and I've seen it, Kurt. It's advanced rapidly in the last 5 years alone. And Realtree's new stuff, and the timber included, the Escape. The Escape will probably be on my next bow because I think it's out of this world pattern. It's really, really cool.
And I'm in full agreement with you because, I mean, you look at Realtree, and they've been an awesome partner. Like, they want to facilitate growth. We want to help them keep growing, right? And the release of that Escape pattern, I mean, I'll make a prediction right now. I mean, I do believe that will be the next big pattern. Like, I think that's the one you're going to see on anything high-end where Realtree is featured. I think it's going to be Escape. And that, like I said, that's my opinion, but the reason I'll say it is I don't care if I'm out in Montana crawling around in sage or up in the cedars or back here in the Midwest. Like, you disappear with Realtree Escape. And like I said, they did, I don't know what they did to pull that thing off, but like whoever pulled that together was ingenious with it, because to me it's the most effective camo pattern out there right now.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's
wildly good is what I mean. So
I give them big props because they definitely stepped out of the norm, and I think they absolutely just hit a grand slam with that pattern.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. But yeah, and great that you guys are offering it, because I think that pattern alone kind of makes a bow stand out. And as you know, being in the archery world, man, everything is, like you mentioned the word custom. If guys can make their bows unique and custom to them, it's super special, and that's just one of the patterns that I really think does that.
I'm with you on that.
So, well, with that being said, man, let's go over the list here of what we got for 2020. And I know we have the
Sure.
MX-15, MX-16, we have the DLX, and we have the Escape. So I know some of those are kind of like a graduation from some of the models last year, Kurt, but kind of just pick one and we'll start from there and go over them real quick.
Yeah, so we'll start with the MX series, and I say that because it's two bows. The first one you mentioned is the MX-15 and of course the MX-16. Both the MX just simply stands for Mako X, and last year we had the Mako X, and it was a 5-inch bow, approximately 33 inches axle to axle. And it was fast, man. It was a smoke show, shooting speeds up into the 360s IBO, but it was ridiculously smooth. And I think that's what got the most attention last year is, guys pick up a 5-inch bow and their perception is it's going to rip my shoulder out, and I get that it's super fast, but gosh, I wear bulky clothing. I don't want to hit my arm. And that bow redefined what a 5-inch bow could be, and the industry took notice. So relative to that success, we're like, okay, we know a 5-inch bow is not for everybody. So like for 2020, we absolutely set out to say we want to keep all the attributes of why people love the Mako X, but now let's do it a little different. So that's exactly what we did. We redesigned the riser, moved to a forged cage design to stiffen up the riser. But we also made it, model specific now, where if you're a speed guy, you can still get the 5-inch, and that's the MX-15. If you want the best of both worlds, I'd argue you'd pick up the MX-16 because it's still a 350-plus bow, and it's a 6-inch brace, which, in my opinion, puts it right in, call it the middle of the comfort zone between somebody that thinks they need a 7-inch brace and somebody that would never shoot a 5-inch brace. Voila, you got the MX-16.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was a direct play off the Mako because, like I said, from a spec perspective, they're very similar. The 15's a screamer up into the 360s. The 15's a screamer, and I won't make light of the 16 either because that's a low 350s bow. It's still bringing it.
Yeah, that's really bringing it. I mean, that's as fast as they get, to be honest. And to get that on a 6. It's slightly over 6-inch brace, right? If you correct me if I'm wrong.
It's right at we would say plus or minus 1.25, but like it's a 6-inch brace bow.
Yeah, but and I don't know about everybody else, but me personally, I don't remember the last 7-inch brace bow I've had. They've all been 6.5 for the past decade. So to me, that's right up kind of my comfort zone, my alley of what type of bow I would want. So that's
and that was the goal there, Brandon. I mean, like the axle to axle being 32 3/4. That's kind of right in the middle, right? It's not a short axle to axle. It's not a long axle to axle. And same thing with brace height. Like at 6 inches, 6 inches is not a radical brace height anymore. Like to your point, I mean, I would kind of call it the average. And that's the thing is that it definitely opened us up to more guys that wouldn't even give a 5-inch bow a look. So, Like I said, that's why the MX series exists. And as smooth as the Mako was, our new HDS cam that's featured on all of our 2020 flagship bows, it's even smoother. And in addition to it being smoother, it's got a rotating mod. So our dealers don't have to have, 30 sets of individual mods to change draw length within about 2 seconds. You pull 2 screws out, rotate the mod, reset your limb stops, and voila, you're off to the races.
That's perfect. So what do you have to do with your limb stops? That same adjustment on the cam as well? You just move it to the equivalent number maybe? Is that how you guys have it?
Exactly. So what we do, or what we did, I'll put it this way, is all of our bows, our goal from factory, Brandon, is that the bow leaves here perfectly in spec, but it's also perfectly level nock travel. And that's where the bow is the most efficient. So even if a dealer's taking a bow that we sent him at, say 29 inches and he needs to make it 28, like I said, he's literally pulling 2 screws, rotating the mod to the recommended setting, and then we give them tune charts so that they know exactly where the limb stops should be. Now, feels different, right? Because you can move our stops 1/32 and change effective let off by 4 to 5% with that little modest move. So that's one of the benefits, is we're saying get it to where it needs to be, and then custom fit it for that archer. And some people want a little more valley and a little more let off. Other people want more holding weight. And literally just in like moving at a sheet of paper, you can affect that, and you can customize it, and you can make it feel the way you want it to feel where you're the most comfortable. Now, in addition to that, this year with the HDS cam, that like I mentioned on all the 2020s, HDS simply stands for hybrid dual stop, and the reason we gave it that name is Xpedition, by and large, has always been a limb stop bow, and anyone that's listening would know limb stop bows typically create an incredibly hard back wall. Like once that hits your limb, it is solid. It's not going anywhere. You're not pulling through it.
Right.
But we also listened, because we did have a lot of customers say, you know what, I'm more of a pressure shooter, or I shoot back tension. I like to pull through my shot. It'd be nice if you guys offered it with a cable stop. So we gave it some thought and said, how can we make this thing go either way? And that's exactly what Kevin Struther did for us, is he made it so a guy can run limb stop, a guy can run cable stop, or realistically, you could run a combination of both.
That's right, yeah.
So whatever you're looking for in the back wall of that bow, this is the answer. You can now do it. So incredibly adjustable, I guess, is how I'm going to, and very easily tunable.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, that gives you an option for everybody. You don't need a press. You don't need 40, like for me, it'd be a 40-minute drive to a bow shop, to just have somebody change a mod for you. So, I mean, it's kind of nice to be able to take that control in your own hands, and it's always nice to work on your own equipment, even if it's on a small scale like that with a couple screws. But at least you know that you're taking the screws out, you can put them back in and make that bow work exactly for you.
Yeah, and like I said, even I would never tell somebody not to have the shop tune it, because there's so many aspects to tuning a bow. But in the very next breath, I would tell you, we give you the answers to the test with our tune charts, and realistically, if you knew nothing but just followed the tune chart, it's going to be incredibly close. So
right.
Hopefully it's a win-win for everyone, right?
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you. I mean, there's nothing better than actually being at the pro shop. I love that as well. But, when you take a bow and you rip it out of the box and the plastic, you're like, man, I just want to fire an arrow right now. So you kind of have that choice that you can do that fast, which is cool.
And Brandon, I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head, because, I mean, we don't sell consumer direct. We have a strong dealer network. Our goal from factory is that when a dealer receives our bow and pulls it out of the box, I mean, we want them to be within 2, 3, 4 shots of shooting paper clean. And all it should be is a matter of them hitting center shot and getting the knocking point right. The bow is going to do it. The bow is already tuned. And I do think that sets us apart from a lot of the other manufacturers, where bow comes out of the box and they could be identical models. One takes them an hour to tune and one takes them 15 minutes to tune. Our goal is that they don't have to tune it. Put it together, get it in that customer's hands, and let's rock and roll.
Right. Yeah, which is super nice. Super efficient. And that's all you can ask for out of a bow, especially nowadays. just to have something like that that cuts down all that tuning time, because let's be honest, nowadays we don't have that extra time to spend 8 hours at a shop and trying to tune a bow, get paper tears out of it. So, to hear you guys say that that's your focus is really awesome, and, it's hard not to compliment that.
No, and thanks for saying it. I mean, just to give you a little insight, it's easy to say it, but I'm actually going to tell you how we do it. I mean, every one of our build stations has a horizontal draw board. And on that draw board, every one of them has a load cell. So when we tune these bows, we're not just looking for, the cable rubbing or cam lean. We're, like I said, we're focused on perfectly level nock travel, but we're also doing it relative to exact draw length, exact holding weight, and exact peak weight. So when I tell you that a bow is tuned, I'm serious. Like that is the protocol on how a bow goes out of here. And every one of the builders, every step, typically three to four people are going to touch that bow from start to finish in our build out. And at every step, there's a double check. So every builder has the next builder checking his spec once he's there, and they're signing off on it. I mean, I know to a T who built every bow, who spec'd the bow, who shot the bow. Every one of them goes out of here. They've all been shot, every one of them. So that I'm very confident that when a bow goes in the box, it's right, and ultimately that's because we want to take care of our dealer. We want our bow to be the easiest bow for them to work with. So
yeah, that is that says a lot. And I've actually, I don't know if it's maybe it's on your website, but I've actually seen that picture of guys in the shop at the factory there at Xpedition working on that horizontal with the bow laid on that table like that, and you guys doing the tuning process. So it's pretty awesome.
I think it sets us apart because, like I said, I mean, that's attention to detail stuff. It's easy to put a bow together, but to have a bow put together and tuned properly is what makes the magic happen. So
yeah, I mean, you can't ask for more than that, to be honest, from a shooter, from a guy that, even like me, I'm not a comp shooter per se, but I want my hunting bow and my rig to shoot like a comparable to a comp shooter. I want it to shoot perfect. And for you guys to be doing that at the factory, you guys build them, you guys make them. I mean, there's nobody that knows that process better than you guys, and you guys are doing that there is just really awesome.
Well, and like I said, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, we're pretty lucky. I mean, Kevin Struther is the man, and that's putting it lightly. But I mean, that thought starts all the way back with him on the design, right? Like the function in the design equals tunability and everything we're doing on the back end with assembly. That starts with him and how we're designing them so that they can actually be tuned. A lot of systems, there really isn't tuning to them. You got to shim them over. You got to move this. You got to move that. Ours are 100% tunable. You can put a twist in the cable and this happens. You can twist up your yoke and that happens. That's the goal here. That regardless of who's shooting it, what their draw length is, or really what their game is, we say experience perfection. I mean, that's kind of our tagline. We mean it. Like we want these things as perfect as they can be. So.
Yeah, I mean, again, you can't beat that. And I don't know if this is wrong, and you can correct me, Kurt, but if you're having to do all that stuff on some of the other bows that are out there, and you mentioned shimming and doing that stuff, that kind of like it just always leaves space in my mind to have doubts. Like, why am I having to do all this to get a bow to shoot right? And I don't know. I don't know about you, but in my bow, I don't like to have any doubts or any faults. Does that make sense?
Brandon, it totally makes sense, and that's where I'm saying so much of this sport, and again, regardless of your game, whether it's competition archery or you're a dead serious bow hunter, your bow is a huge extension of the confidence you have, right? And that's why I'm saying when that bow gets drawn, the last thing we want you thinking about is, why did I have to shim that cam over? I hope this thing's going to shoot how I think it's going to shoot, right?
Right.
That bow should come back, and you should have 1,000,000% confidence you know what the result's going to be. You're going to aim it, and it's going to go where you're aiming. And like I said, kind of back to our mission statement. That's why I'm saying, like, top to bottom, our goal is that you have an incredibly efficient killing machine in your hands, regardless of your game.
Yeah, that's, like I said, you can't ask for anything more than that. I know that we didn't mention these two other bows, so let's talk about that real quick, Kurt. The DLX, sure, which I assume is kind of a lead off of the Denali from last year, and we have the Escape. And then I have two other questions to ask you before we jump off, but let's hit those real quick.
Sure. I'll jump into the DLX. We love the DLX, and people that have known Xpedition knew that we now refer to as the OG Denali. The original Denali was incredibly successful. I would maybe even venture to say the most popular Xpedition ever. We kept those specs virtually identical. So it's 34 inches axle to axle, 6.5-inch brace height. The biggest differences are we move that to a forged cage riser as well to create that rigidity and stiffness and minimize the archer's paradox, the twisting effect of a bow at static versus dynamic. But the specs are incredibly similar, and the DLX also is sporting the HDS cam. So it gives the archer the option on everything from tuning to back wall to a dealer being able to very quickly and easily make a draw length adjustment change. That bow, almost by default, was built to create an answer for guys looking for a hybrid bow. Maybe they run part of the ASA circuit and shoot a lot of 3D competition archery, but it's also the bow they're taking into, the wilderness of Montana on an elk hunt. So that bow by design was there to be a replacement or the new bow option for the guys that were running the Denali. Because like I said, spec to spec, they're incredibly similar with some upgrades, right? And more adjustability and more tunability. And it's been very, very popular, both on the target side of archery and on the hunting side. So we think that one's a home run, and so far it has been. So,
yeah, I've shot the Denali, I've shot the DLX, and you can tell they're similar. But man, holy cow! It's like you said, I'm not a comp shooter, but it definitely would be a bow that I would gravitate to. But man, it is awesome. It would also be an awesome hunting rig as well. It's just super smooth and just a great, very great shooting bow. Like zero vibration in your hand, and it was actually one of my favorite bows at ATA this year. So. Awesome,
and it's kind of been selected as that in some other independent reviews too. And like I said, we knew it was good. And I'd be remiss not to mention it's a mid 340s bow. So there isn't very many 34-inch axle to axle bows that are boasting that kind of performance. So it's like I said, we like to think it's the perfect blend of a little bit longer axle to axle, but with the hunter still in mind because the performance is there. You can shoot a incredibly heavy arrow to get a lot of momentum in a hunting situation and not forfeit the speed. The speed's still there.
Yeah, I mean, that's whipping for a 34-inch axle to axle, and it's got a really good blend of, just performance and feel with that kind of speed, and that's a really, if you ask me, again, that's a really solid brace height, too, that makes that bow at that axle to axle shoot so well.
Yeah, and then, like I said, I appreciate everything about the DLX. That bow turned out almost perfect from our perspective. So we're excited about the DLX for sure.
For sure. So last but not least, we have the Escape, and just another sweet shooting bow, and another bow that I just think appeals to so many people because of that awesome shooting bow at a 30-inch axle to axle. But I'll let you kind of take the reins on that, Kurt.
Yeah, and I would even argue, I mean, the industry as a whole, it does seem like has gravitated to shorter axle to axle, regardless of brace height. I mean, the bows are smaller, they're more compact, and for years we had the perception that like Western hunters specifically wanted a little longer axle to axle because oftentimes the shots are further, right? And guys want that forgiveness and that string angle and whatnot, but on the flip side of it, if you're climbing a mountain for 10, 11 days, I mean, the smaller, lighter, and more compact the bow, the better. So there's a couple trains of thought, but like we knew for a fact we needed a short axle-to-axle tack driver, and that's what the Escape is. I mean, that bow, we took the kind of like the Denali. Xpedition had a bow in the past called the Explorer SS, and that was a 30-inch axle-to-axle little speed demon. This bow 100% is a play off of that, and if you laid the Escape side by side with an Explorer SS and a Mako from last year, you would see a very intricate blend of design. So it looks like a miniature Mako, but has the characteristics of the original Explorer SS, and like I've mentioned now a couple times, the Escape features the HDS cam. So again, super adjustable, easy to adjust, and crazy tunable. And the bow is a little streamer. That's pushing into the low 350s for IBO. So performance-wise, I don't think there's another 30-inch bow on the market that can even hold a candle to that bow, and it's still got a 6-inch brace height.
Yeah, I don't think I can either. Not at that kind of, that's blistering speed and everything else spec-wise on that bow, along with the HDS cams and that kind of adjustment. Just, man, that's a perfect little. I hate to use the word little, not to marginalize it, because the performance out of that bow is anything short than little.
Yeah, no, you're hitting the nail on the head, Brandon, because it's, some guys don't want a 30-inch bow, but some guys only want a 30-inch or, a shorter axle-to-axle profile bow, and that's why we did it, right? So, I mean, guys that are spending a lot of time in blinds or even tree stands for that matter, it's compact, it's lightweight, but yet it's performant. I mean, it's a rock star little package in a bow. Yeah,
absolutely. Now, one thing I think you guys have done or made some improvements on was also the limb pockets. Do you want to talk about that real quick before we head out?
Sure. So for sure, if you're familiar with the line, I mean, Xpedition's always had what I would call simple design, and I don't mean that in function. I mean it in literally look. Like sometimes, simple is better. The one area I absolutely wanted to make sure things were rock solid is the transition from front to rear. And some people call it front limb pocket, rear limb pocket. In our world, we call it a front and a rear pivot, because ultimately that is the pivot point, the last contact we're making with the limbs coming off the riser, right? So we definitely beefed that up from last year, and that was 100% a play on consistency. We do not want those limbs to be able to shift left to right, laterally, anything. We want them incredibly consistent. And what we found through testing the new system is we could actually make the bow more efficient, because if that limb is moving whatsoever on that rear pivot, it's eating up some energy. So the new system with the brace arms on the side, it literally locks that limb into place from the front to rear. And it like I said, it's a consistency thing, and consistency equals efficiency. Efficiency equals performance. So kind of back to the holistic approach, but that 100% is purpose-driven on why we made that move.
Gotcha. And I will say, I've seen some things like that in the past on certain bows that just, it didn't complement the bow. This actually, for you guys, it really complements the bow, aesthetically pleasing, I mean, and it kind of, I think, gives Xpedition like its unique look. It's kind of like X hit the mark, so to speak. You guys did a great job with those.
Well, thank you. We love the system, and it's been very effective. And like I said, that's ultimately what drove us to look at that and make an upgrade there.
Yeah, absolutely. Kurt, anything? I mean, I don't know how much you guys can do or talk about what you guys do for your strings, but I know option-wise you guys have a ton of different blends, colorways. So do you want to just speak on that real quick?
You bet. So we are partnered up with who I would argue is the best manufacturer in the business, with Eric Griggs and his team down at Gas Bowstrings. They are our OEM provider. They build all of our strings. This year's unique in the fact that we moved all of our OEM strings to 454, which is a new material from BCY. We tested it extensively, Brandon. We absolutely think that is the best material available right now. And whether you're talking about, string stretch or peep rotation, what have you, same thing. Like, we want consistency. And through our testing and R&D with Eric and his team down there at GAS, we have that. So we think we have the best string on the market, the most consistent string, and a lot of that's on the back of GAS bowstrings because they've been awesome. They've been great partners. The one thing that makes it unique, or one thing that we're doing that's unique in the industry, is our dealers can choose a variety of colors. There's actually 10 custom colors that they can order a factory direct bow, and it's still a 454. It just happens to be in a different color. So kind of the same thing we talked about with like customizing a bow. Maybe a guy loves an MX16, but he wants a flow green string. That dealer has the option just to bring the bow in like that. It doesn't have to be an additional thing. It doesn't have to be, tearing a harness off and putting a new one on. We'll send it to them like that. So it makes us a little unique, and it gives our dealers some more options, and ultimately that's what we're trying to do is help our dealers, help them grow their business, and by default we're growing our own. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that idea, and again, coming from a guy that wants every bow that I've ever had to be a little bit special, I love that feature and definitely thought we had to talk about it today. But I don't know, Kurt, is there anything left? I think we kind of covered as much as we could in 45 minutes here.
You were pretty thorough, Brandon. But no, I guess broadly speaking, I would just encourage people to go check the brand out. We're not the biggest manufacturer, and we never intend to be the biggest, but we definitely intend to be the best. So if you haven't checked it out, get to a dealer, shoot these bows. I think it'll definitely change perceptions, or at least put us in the ranks of any of the top brands. And like I said, I just want to say thank you, because our dealer network and our consumers have been outstanding, and like I said, we're not taking our foot off the throttle. We're going to keep growing this thing and doing the best we can do to be the best. Absolutely.
I know that me personally, I got to spend some time at the booth. I got to shoot the MX16 and the DLX, and I will say, just aesthetically pleasing, man. That's a gorgeous bow, the new riser cage. You guys have a unique look that's all their own, and you're in the category when you see an Xpedition now, you know it's an Xpedition because it's vastly super attractive bow with all those features. And, man, just kudos to you guys. Are doing a great job down there. And I love the fact that you're not trying to be too big, too fast, and you guys still are doing a lot of the things inside that factory that really, frankly, I wish every bow company was doing, but I'm glad to promote you guys for doing it.
Well, thank you for that. And like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and at least share a little bit about Xpedition.
Absolutely. And then you guys can find more at Xpeditionarchery.com. And Kurt, man, I can't wait to have you on the show again.
Thanks, Brandon. I'll look forward to it.
Absolutely. And you guys know you can find us right here every week on iTunes and the Unfiltered Outdoor app. We'll see you guys next week.